Haney versus Lomachenko. Ooh boy, great fight, great fighters going for greatness, and this is what we want in boxing. This was a great fight. Fighters making adjustments. Both fighters living up to the expectations. All these lazy narratives that both fighters are overrated, particularly when it comes to Lomachenko, when he's done it throughout his career. You got fighters willing to take on top competition. I don't want to hear anything about Tank will win this fight, Tank will win that fight, when Tank is out here winning mythical matchup after mythical matchup without actually fighting the fights. I respect the fighters who fight the fights. And one thing that's going to happen is you boxing pundits out there are going to stop taking hardcore boxing fans for granted. And what I mean by that is I'm watching this ESPN panel after the fight, and they're saying, I'm tired of talking about scorecards. We should be talking about a great fight. This and that. This wasn't a robbery, etc., etc. No, you're going to talk about it. You're going to talk about it because when 80%, if we're probably being generous, scored the fight for Lomachenko, and yet 100% of the official scorecards scored it for Haney, in a fight, in a sport that we know is corrupt, boxing does not deserve the benefit of the doubt, and you're going to hear us out, and you're going to talk about it because you're on that panel to speak up for boxing fans. And we're going to talk about that judging on the podcast tomorrow, and we're going to talk about it later on in this video. But first, I want to get to the adjustments that were made. Why we saw the type of fight we saw is Haney can't hug 1-2 and hug great fighters. He can't, and that's what we said coming in is guys like Jojo Diaz and Linares sped Haney up in the second half of the fight. And it's why this narrative that Haney's a boring fighter is lazy, because when he's fighting good to great competition, his technique goes to shit in the second half of the fight. He was not able to land the jab against the southpaw of Jojo Diaz, so he wasn't going to have success like that against the southpaw like Lomachenko. He landed 20 jabs in this whole fight. But he made up for it by landing the right hand to the body throughout the fight. The body punching, he made up for the lack of jabbing that he had success with in this fight. That's the adjustments we talk about, because when it comes to Haney, you can have success speeding him up in the second half of the fight. So that's the fight we expected coming in, is Haney banks some early rounds, and then Lomachenko gets to work and gets in his bag. And it becomes a close fight, a close, controversial fight. That's what we expected in this. And we got a lot of action, and we got greatness from both of these fighters. Both fighters made great adjustments. Lomachenko found that straight left. And Lomachenko learned from his mistakes in the Teofimo fight. Is he started off faster than he started in that fight, and he ended faster. This lazy narrative that Lomachenko laid up in the 12th round, I don't care what he said at the press conference, it does not add up. He threw 55 punches in that last round, which is his most active round as far as output in the fight. He outthrew Haney by 18 punches. He outthrew him by like 25 punches, 28 punches in the 10th and 11th round. He was the more active fighter against the younger fighter in the championship rounds. 12 could have been a comparative round compared to 10 and 11. 10 and 11, Lomachenko decisively wins. 12th round, he outthrows Haney by 18, outlands him by 3, but Haney is what? He's more efficient because he's landing 6% more because he's throwing less. If there was a fighter that was economical in the 12th round, it was Haney, who threw 37 punches. That's why you need to beware of the lazy narratives that go on out there and gain traction, and then it becomes what it becomes. We need to push back on these lazy narratives. When it comes to the scoring of the fight, this is the disconnect. It's unanimous. Unanimous. There were 4 rounds, in my opinion, that Lomachenko clearly won. 5, 7, 10, 11. Yet, only 2 of those rounds he won unanimously on the judges' scorecards. Moretti somehow scores the 10th round for Devin Haney, which I've never seen a round scored that badly. And the 7th round, Cheatham scores for Devin Haney. And on top of that, on top of the rounds that Lomachenko is decisively winning, and yet not getting unanimously, the 7 or 8 close rounds that we had in the fight, the judges were almost unanimously giving Devin Haney the benefit of the doubt on all the close rounds. All 3 judges' scorecards. And this is what I talk about when I talk about the disconnect between what we see in boxing and how hardcore boxing fans see a fight and view a fight. And you're not going to disrespect us by acting like we don't matter. And that we're just, you know, casuals out here who are getting emotional about the fight because Devin Haney wears a grill, whatever that means. And Lomachenko is the media darling. It's just lazy, lazy, lazy. We saw what we saw. Highly subjective fight. Tough fight to score, right? But at the same time, when Haney seems to be getting the benefit of the doubt in all the close rounds, and even the rounds Lomachenko is decisively winning, he's not unanimously winning, it's unanimous. That's the issue that people have here. That's the issue that people have here is when you have 80% of the boxing public generously, that's probably a generous estimate, scoring the fight for Lomachenko, and 100% of the judges' scorecards score it for Haney. There's a disconnect there. There's a disconnect there. There's this disconnect that boxing fans always seem to have with boxing is we don't feel like we're represented. We don't feel like we're represented on these panels. We don't feel like we're represented official scorecards. We don't feel like we're represented last week with Tony Weeks, Raleigh Romero. We just don't feel like we have proper representation within the boxing world. And boxing does not get the benefit of the doubt ever from hardcore boxing fans, and it shouldn't. Because it's a highly corrupt sport, so when we see something like this, when we see a clear disconnect, and look, robbery, no robbery, I'm not getting into that. Close fight, congratulations to Haney, but you're not going to tell us that something doesn't feel off about this when 100%, when you have a highly subjective fight to score and you have mostly uniform scoring. Let's say Moretti scores that 10th round for Lomachenko. You have all three judges' scorecards, 115 for 113. Haney? Something feels off about that. Something feels off about that. So, to wrap it up, you're going to listen to boxing fans. You're going to listen to us. We're not going to shut up about it. Official scorecards matter because 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, it will always be seen as Haney beat Lomachenko. Congratulations to Haney for winning the fight. But hardcore boxing fans have spoken out there. And, you know, we strongly feel, I think, that Lomachenko won this fight. And Haney got the benefit of the doubt on all three judges' scorecards. Bless their hearts. And once again, man, I'm one of the pro-Haney channels out here. One of the only. Because he doesn't seem to get a fair shake from the YTBC, and there's a lot of lazy narratives when it comes out there to Lomachenko, that he's this media darling that's been pumped up by the boxing media, etc. Is both of these fighters looked great last night, and they gave us a great fight. I don't want to lose sight of that. Both fighters look great, and I don't want to hear anything about them being overrated anymore. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. This is what real fighters do, what happened last night. Real fighters don't sit back and say, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, and let their fans fight mythical matchups for them online. That's not what real fighters do, and we're not going to give those fighters respect. We're going to give those fighters respect who get in there and go for greatness, make adjustments, make each other look greater by taking them to dark places to see if they can rise to the occasion. Lomachenko did that to Haney late in the fight. Haney took Lomachenko there earlier in the fight. They battled, momentum going back and forth, great fight. So we respect the real fighters over here. And the boxing pundits, the boxing business is going to respect real boxing fans out here and listen to us. We mostly feel like Lomachenko won that fight last night. We had no representation on the official scorecards. Clear disconnect. Lomachenko clearly winning when it comes to the boxing public. Devin Haney winning unanimously, unanimous on all three judges' scorecards, almost uniform scoring in a highly subjective fight. Something don't sit right with that. You're going to start listening to boxing fans. Y'all are going to start